Welcome everyone. This is an exciting show I've got for you tonight on Catching Up with Chris Jones. I've got a 7-time FLW champion, a guy that's approaching $1 million in his FLW career. In his 7 wins, 3 of them come from the Phoenix Bass Fishing League. He's got 2 more Toyota Series wins and 2 wins with the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit. A guy that's made a top 10 at the Forest Wood Cup in his career. And he's joining us from Florida. This week they're down there with the Major League Fishing BPT's Heavy Hitters Tournament. What's up, Jason Lambert?
Christopher, we are going through the process of what is the tropical storm? It's called Cristobal or Cristobal or whatever. So it's appropriate that I'm talking to my brother in love, Chris Jones. We're in Florida. It is pouring rain, dude. Has been all day. So I don't know if you've ever done a Catching Up with Chris in a truck, but you are now. So,
I have not.
It's good to see you, man. I freaking miss you guys. I miss all of you, Kathy, Daniel, everybody over at FLW. I'm excited to be fishing this week. I'm glad to be back in the game. We've been shut down for a while, but, it's great to be down here fishing heavy hitters. Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour is fantastic. But, man, I get to see you in about 2 weeks.
Hey, man, we're going to talk all about those super tournaments coming up. It's a homecoming of sorts for a lot of you guys, including you. FLW has been really good to Jason Lambert. You have helped build us into what we are today. Now we are, partners with Major League Fishing. We're taking this industry to the next level. You're one of the guys leading the way in that. We're going to talk all about your resume, man, but I think the best way to get this thing started, Jason, let's bring you up from the grassroots program, man. That's really what got you started. The TBF, the Bass Federation, the national championship there, and then hey, you have 3 Phoenix BFL wins. Talk a little bit about the Bass Fishing League, the TBF, man. How that got you started, all the way to the Toyota Series, and then ultimately all the way to the Bass Pro Tour.
FLW has been the footwork of a lot of guys' careers in this industry. And I'm sorry if you guys hear all this noise in the background. It's Cristobal Jones coming at us, but it's it has been it's the legwork. It's where a lot of guys came from. It's where I started at. I started fishing, in a club, back at Pickwick Lake, Pickwick Dam, Tennessee, as my buddy always says. So, I fished the clubs, had a couple Southern divisionals, made the national championship way back in 2005. So, it's the competitive spirit. It's it doesn't matter what level you're fishing at. It doesn't matter where you came from in life. You enjoy fishing and you enjoy competition. FLW, Major League Fishing, we all have something for everybody. You've got the TBF, you've got, the Phoenix Bass Fishing League, and it's actually funny. I never really fished a whole division of the BFLs except for 1 year. But I picked some and chose to fish a few, not fish some others, and then hopped right into the Toyota Series. So, but it all started back in the day with the TBF and with the BFLs, and that's where it came from for me. I never fished, honestly, man, I've never fished out of the back of a boat. I know a lot of guys come up through the co-angler program, and we have a fantastic co-angler program with FLW. I just never did that. I guess I'm too hard-headed. I always want to do things my way. But it's a learning curve, and there's no substitute for time on the water, whether it's, Bass Federation, whether it's the BFL levels, whether it's the Toyota levels. It doesn't matter. You've got to get on the water. If you're competitive, and like me, growing up playing sports my whole entire life, it was always baseball, basketball. I always was involved in competitive sports. So, the reality is we're not as young as we used to be. We can't go out there and play basketball 3 or 4 or 5 nights a week. But if you put some craft, put some time into your craft and get out on the water and spend some time, fishing club tournaments, fishing BFLs, fishing Toyotas.
Yep.
If you work on your craft, we have an avenue for you at FLW through Major League Fishing to come do what I'm doing. Sit in a car in a driving rain in Kissimmee, Florida, and do a podcast with my man, Chris Jones.
I love it, man. That's good stuff right there. Hey, let me tell you, for the folks that are watching, this episode. This is me and Lambert's third attempt to try to make this happen. So he may be an electronics genius, and we're going to talk more about that later, but he is not a Zoom genius.
Man, this has been a challenge. You know, you think you're in this great big metropolitan area of Orlando, Florida, Kissimmee, St. Cloud. Should be more service than you could ever need for a Zoom meeting call or whatever. We have learned that is not the case. And the third attempt, we're here. I'm parked in front of the hotel lobby trying to hope we get through this whole entire podcast. So I can tell you whatever you need to know about your electronics. But if you ask me about Zoom meetings or laptops, I'm going to refer you to someone else.
Oh, man, that's awesome. So much success with FLW. You know, you've got 20 top 10s in 94 events. I mean, that means you do the math on that. That's 2 out of every 10 events. You're making a top 10 in 1 out of every 5 FLWs that you fish. The 2 Toyota Series wins were really special for you. Tennessee River's been really good to you. But I want you to talk for just a few minutes about the Toyota Series. That is the minor leagues. You graduate from that to the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit, ultimately all the way to Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour. But talk about how those 2 Toyota Series wins really launched your professional bass fishing career.
You know, I started my rookie year was 2014 on the pro circuit, and you know I had a good year, won rookie of the year. So I mean, it wasn't like I come out and struggled. So I had a good start. But then, you know, this game is no different than any other game. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. And 2015, you know, my second year, I guess they call it the sophomore slump. Well, I slumped, and I, you know, had some missed opportunities, had some things that didn't go my way. You know, I ended up making a cut up at the Potomac River at the end of the season, so we ended on a good note. So, you know, coming out into 2016, we went to Okeechobee. You know, I'm still kind of even though I won Angler or Rookie of the Year, I'm still kind of a no-name. But, you know, we went down there and fished that Toyota Series with a 250 boat field. And it's probably one of the most proud moments of my career is to go down there as a Tennessee River guy, which, you know, a lot of guys think about Tennessee River. They think about nothing but offshore ledge fishing, cranking. We grew up fishing grass. So when we go to a grass fishery, you know, I'm kind of licking my chops as the black, you know, as the black sheep, I guess. Nobody really expects you to do much. But so winning that tournament, though, and you go back and you look at the roster, and there was like 110 or 115 Florida residents in that tournament. And for me to go down there and win that tournament, I mean, that's that scratch on the headboard that you always going to have. Like they can't, you know, everybody can talk about Tennessee River, and yeah, you're supposed to win there. It's where you grew up. But, you know, that derby down there was pretty special. Like it really opened a lot of people's eyes to realize, hey, this guy can catch them up north on the Tennessee River, but he's must be pretty good everywhere else too, because he won down here. So it's that level of event, even fishing the Toyota Series I won at Kentucky, that, okay, you don't have, you know, the Skeet Reese, the Van Dams, and all of those names in there. But I'm telling you, man, you and I have talked about this. The BFLs and the Toyota Series, they're harder to win on a day-to-day basis than fishing a major league fishing event or, you know, a pro circuit event. There's at the pro circuit event or the BA, you know, the Bass Pro Tour event, you've got a lot of good fishermen. But when you go fish a Toyota or a BFL, you're fishing against guys that don't fish anywhere but there. And those guys are hammers. They're good on their pond. And they could probably do what we're doing. They're that good. They just never took the initiative to do it or didn't have the finances available to do it or whatever. But those guys at that level, it is harder to win, I promise you, fishing a BFL than it is fishing a Bass Pro Tour Major League Fishing event.
Absolutely. No doubt about it, man. And you mentioned, you know, your success on the Tennessee River. Let's talk about your 2 Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit wins, man. Kentucky Lake. Both of them were in dominant fashion. In 2018, that was probably the most impressive win just because, you know, the fishery it's still going through that downward cycle right now, and maybe it's on a slight upswing right now. You can talk more about that. You know Kentucky Lake better than any of us, but it's kind of one of those things. The Asian carp problem is real. You and I have talked about that many times. And you go in and you join the Century Club, catch over 100 pounds. I think that is still the largest margin of victory in a tackle warehouse pro circuit. I think Scott Martin finished second with 70 or 80 pounds. Man, total domination. I remember that championship Sunday, man, you came back really early, 10:30 or 11 o'clock. You're at the dock, ordered a pizza. One of my favorite stories ever. And was just done with it, man. But that you've got a kinship with Kentucky Lake and Pickwick, and really the whole Tennessee River chain, man. Talk a little bit about that relationship and how special those wins were, Jay Lamb.
Kentucky Lake is like, it's not my home lake. Everybody thinks that Kentucky Lake is my home lake. Pickwick is actually my home lake. And I get a lot of questions from guys, especially the Kentucky Lake guys, and they're like, man, how in the hell do you come up here and cave our face in all the time? But it's more than that. It's, I really, really, really understand the graphs, and I really understand how those fish set up offshore. But one of the things that I think that has helped me as much or more than anything about fishing Kentucky Lake is my upbringing on Pickwick, because Pickwick fish is tiny, teeny compared to Kentucky. So, you guys that know Kentucky Lake, I'll just use this for an example. If you took every offshore spot from, just say Ken Lake, from the 68 bridge up to the dam, there's more offshore places to fish there than there are on the whole entire lake at Pickwick. So I think growing up, fishing Pickwick and doing tournaments there my whole entire life, I think you learn how to manage the crowd, I guess, and you start looking for the outliers. You start looking for the little satellite schools instead of just focusing primarily on the big stuff. But 2016 was really, really, really special to me because, man, I had you and I have talked about it in the past. I mean, I've had so much success on that lake, but I'd had so many seconds. I finished second there twice in 2014. I've had thirds. I don't know how many top tens I'd had prior to 2016, but man, just to finally get that monkey off your back, and not just to do it, but to do it like dominantly, to have that day, the last day where you just smash them, and bringing it back to Major League Fishing, had 2016 at Kentucky Lake been an MLF style tournament, we'd probably had 300 pounds that day. Like, we murdered them. It was so fun. It was not 98 degrees. Everybody don't remember that part. It was miserable. And I came in real early that day too, but that kind of gets overlooked but the funny thing is we didn't have live then. 2018 we had live, so everybody got to live it with you. Honestly, 2016 was probably more fun because we caught their freaking butts all day long and big.
Hey, that was the evolution of the of a brand new bait.
Well, the funny thing was
we're talking about that giant spoon, man. You guys, that was the spoon tournament.
14 was the spoon tournament. 2014 was the spoon tournament.
14, that's right.
Yeah. And so we kind of brought the Jerky J out in 16. That's when it really started getting some notice. And the funny part was we had been fishing that bait for 10 years or more. And it's funny how everything progresses. It's whether it's technology through electronics, technology with boats. I'm sitting here in a parking lot with my friggin' laptop talking to Chris Jones right now. So technology has changed everything. So what's really changed in the fishing world is, man, there's no secrets anymore. I mean, when you're doing well and you go out and you smash them in a tournament, you've got a camera over your shoulder the whole entire time. So all that stuff that we kept quiet to ourselves for all those years, that don't happen anymore, man. So you catch them on something now. I mean, the whole world knows about it before dark.
And then Jerky J is a special bait for you, man. But you do something a little bit different with that bait, don't you?
I don't know that I really do it that much different, other than the fact that I have spent so much time with that thing. It's kind of like you and your wife, you know, I mean, you know everything she's going to say before she says it and vice versa. And it's not always a good thing when that happens, but, and I'm just kidding, Jamie and Ashley, my wife. But with that being said, I spent so much time with that thing in the swimming pool. Like, you know, I throw it and I throw it and I throw it and I throw it. And I do a couple things different. I have my own bills that I put on it. And that's really the only difference. I mean, a head is a head. So it's actually the plastic on that bill that makes that scrounger, you know, stagger head work a little bit different. So in all honesty, I don't really do that much that different with it, but I will spend hours prior to a tournament running that thing in a swimming pool to make sure that I've got me 4 or 5 of them picked out that do exactly what I want them to do. So it's not as simple as just taking that thing out of the package and tying it onto, you know, some 20-pound Yo-Zeri top knot and throwing it. I mean, it's a little more than that. It's just, you know, it's basically all I've done is just fine-tuned the 4 or 5 heads that I'm going to throw during that event. Yeah. And it's, but, you know, it's no different for me doing that than it is for, you know, a Randall Tharp or an Ish or somebody that's a big flipping guy that do their thing the way they do it. And you know, I'll never be able to catch them flipping like Dean and Randall and some of those guys, and I'll never be able to catch them sight fishing like some of these other guys do. But they'll never be able to catch them like I do there with that thing either. So, and that's just, everybody has their strength. I mean, Babe Ruth hit, you know, he was a home run hitter, you know, and you had Ricky Henderson was a fast guy. I mean, everybody has their own lane in their sport, and you know, and that's kind of I guess my specialty lane. And you know, that's one thing I'm pretty proud of. Is like, I don't, you know, I've had a really good career, but I've always kind of been looked at as like the guy for the Tennessee River. Dude, I'm proud of that.
Absolutely. Now, hey, listen, I've been in a boat with you. I mean, you and I've been out several times. I actually practiced with you before the 12 Series event that year. That was and I'll never forget, man. Your passion for structure fishing and electronics. Unless you're in a boat with Jason Lambert, you just don't understand how good he is. You're seeing a lot of things that a lot of guys can't see, and you point that stuff out to me. I think about 2018, you know, being able to tell the difference between carp and bass, and sometimes the dots look the same, but the way they're set up on the bottom and according to what the current's doing and all that stuff. But I have witnessed you, man, in action, going out and finding schools of bass and looking at stuff, and I won't give away your secrets, but looking at stuff that nobody else really is looking at in places that most people on the Tennessee River just don't fish. Yeah. Most of the time, the stuff that you find really isn't community holes. Most of the time, it's really not community holes. And that's something that you're really good at, man. I mean, you had spots from Kentucky Dam all the way to New Johnsonville on Kentucky Lake, man. That's talk about your love for electronics and structure fishing like that. Finding those big schools.
Well, you know, the whole electronics deal really kind of started with us at Pickwick. I mean, everybody always had one graph on the front, one graph on the back, and then, you know, when we really started getting into the, you know, clear view, side view, structure scan, whatever everybody calls it with their company, you know, there was a couple guys that really spent some time learning that deal. And, you know, now you just go to YouTube and you just search it and everybody's like, okay, you set this setting, you do that. Well, we didn't have that option. You know, we were kind of the forefront, I guess, of electronics. And I grew up fishing offshore. I mean, this is a story that I've told a million times. I'll never forget the first time I ever saw a Navionics mapping card. I mean, you know, we'd spend all these hours out there idling around, you know, and back then we had these screens were this big, you know, and then I remember when we got the first 7-inch screen, it was like the old 27 Lowrance or whatever it was. And, you know, we thought we were, you know, good God, we're looking at a friggin' big screen. So, you know, once all of this process started coming, again, it's back to the same thing. We're sitting here in a truck right now doing a Zoom call. So, you know, I spent lots of time and lots of hours idling, messing with settings, doing this, doing that. And then it was like one day we were like, holy crap, man, you really need 2 screens back here to do this. So then the invention of Van Foster came up with the very first Bass Boat Technologies, was the first that I know of that had a dual mount screen where you could put two graphs at the console. And so next thing you know, I mean, we got two at the console, and then still we just had one up front, but it kind of just kept morphing and growing into this deal where pretty much every serious bass fisherman you see now has 4 units on their boat. And, you know, Garmin and all these companies are really excited about that because they sell more graphs. But it's just, it has been a process. It was a learning process. And it was, for us, it was trial and error. You know, like I said, now you just, if you have a question about how to do this or how to do that or what settings you need, crap, man, you can YouTube anything now and you can find out how to, you know, you can find out how to boil an egg if you want to. But it's so different, you know. And we talk about it like it was 100 years ago. Man, that was only like probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it hasn't been that long ago.
Man. Yeah.
It's fastly changing, I promise you. I mean, even now, I mean, you look around like what Garmin's got with this live scope, Panoptix. I mean, there's really, you know, it's almost unfair to the fish now. So there's just nowhere for them to hide. But there's one art to it. I mean, I do look at a lot of stuff that other guys don't look at because I grew up on the Tennessee River, and I know places at home at Pickwick where they get that, you know, most people wouldn't look at, but those places are getting less and less, less and less. I fished a Toyota event there last week before I came to Kissimmee, and I had 6 or 7 places that I call, you know, sneaky holes or sneaky, like people ain't gonna find them. Well, guess what? All of them got found but 2. But that's just the difference in the world we live in now. I mean, used to guys didn't go look at that stuff, and now the lakes are getting smaller because people are getting better with their electronics. So the only advantage that you have anymore as a traditional Tennessee River guy is we still know how to catch them. Like there's a secret to catching them. There's a trick to catching them, not just catching fish, because anybody can go out there and catch fish. But I mean, you've been with me, you know. I mean, we pull up on a spot. If they don't bite in 3 or 4 casts, I'm gone.
Yes.
I don't camp. I don't stay. And so there's a little stuff that we'll never tell that we still do that is important. And there's a few guys that can do it. I mean, and I'm not the only one. I'm not the only guy out there that can do it. But a lot of that stuff can't be taught. You have to just live it and learn it and figure it out. And I mean, I cannot wait for 2 more weeks to get to Chickamauga, because we're going to hit it right in the teeth, I do believe.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about that, man. The Major League Fishing, FLW family comes together. We're putting on super tournaments, which the payout is absolutely ridiculous, man. I think we're paying $10,000 back to 102, 103, 104 places, something like that, over 100 places. And that's, of course, Chickamauga. You've cut shows there in the past that are on YouTube that you've got a lot of experience there. You're definitely going to be one of the favorites to win that thing, man. That time of year, talk a little bit about that, man. We're looking forward to that tournament. We're bringing the best anglers in the world together with the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit. It's going to be awesome.
Well, there's a couple things about this tournament coming up. I mean, number one, Major League Fishing has compiled 80 of the best that has ever done this thing. And now we're coming together with Major League Fishing and FLW. FLW grew a lot of those guys into where they are. So, you know, to me, this is like a reunion. It's like it's me and Daniel Fennell have talked about it. Like, I mean, I get kind of giddy thinking about coming back and seeing all my buddies. You know, it's like family. But that tournament itself is going to be the first of its kind. Like, there's never been an event quite like this. Like, you take all your guys that you got over there. I mean, you look through the list at the people like the Websters and the John Coxes. I mean, there's a lot of really good fishermen over there. And then you bring all of our guys back in. You know, Michael Neal's coming home. You know, Morgan, Strader. I mean, I'm just talking about John Murray. I'm just talking about like the Tennessee River guys and myself. But then you throw in, Edwin Evers, Skeet Reese, and just go on down the list of the guys that are legends in our sport. So it's, the thing that Major League Fishing has provided for us is a platform unlike anything we've ever seen. There's never been any fishing company or entity that has ever provided as much, TV platform for our anglers and for the sport as Major League Fishing has. So now we're putting all that into one big casserole, and we're making a dish that people cannot wait to get a taste of, because it's going to be a 200 plus boat field. There's never 100 and plus whatever places has never been paid $10,000 ever. It will be the largest single paying event ever at that level. I don't care who you bring into the picture. You can bring in BASS. I don't care what organization it is. There's never been a tournament organization that will pay out the money that we're paying out in 2 weeks at Lake Chickamauga on the FLW Super Tournament. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about coming and seeing all my buddies. And I know we're supposed to social distance, because you're going to give me a hug when I get there.
Bear hug, baby. Absolutely. It's been too long.
Hey, we'll wear a mask, but you're going to give me a hug.
You got it. Hey, last time I saw you was Forest Wood Cup Championship Sunday, top 10. You finished 5th, 2018. So it's been a few years, man. I've missed you. I have missed you.
Almost 2 years. Almost 2 years, yeah. So,
almost.
You look a lot smaller than you did then, and I do too. I've lost about 35 pounds. So where are you at?
I'm about 50.
Good God, dude! I got to get back on my horse.
I finally beat you in something.
So no, man, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, FLW has meant so much to me as a person, number one, but as an angler, I mean, that's my platform. It's where I started, and when I left there 2 years ago, it wasn't that I left because I didn't want to be a part of FLW. It was left to grow something that's bigger and better for not just myself, but for the industry. And it has turned out to be a great benefit for all you guys at FLW, because we're all back in the same boat again, working out of the same checkbook. So it's really good for everybody involved. But that 2018, I mean, you put up 101, whatever it was, pounds, and and I still think about that, Chris, when you told me after the event was over, we did our little deal, we got our trophy, and you said, you said, I've been doing this a long time. You said, there's never, ever, ever been a crowning moment where there was one guy on the stage.
Crazy. That's crazy, man. You had to fish on Championship Sunday, man. You had it won without even going out.
Yeah, but we can't roll like that, man. We got to go. I missed that 100 pounds in 16 by 2 pounds and some ounces, and I had a bad day in that tournament. It was my own fault. The first day I only had like 18 something, which you say you only had 18 something, but and then at the end of that first day, a light bulb kind of came on and said, man, you screwed this up, dude. So then I caught like 24, 25, and 29, but I missed that Century Club. And going into that last day in 2018, I knew I had a chance. I knew I needed like 25 and a half or whatever, which, I mean, it wasn't easy to catch 25 and a half. I mean, it was tough. And I fortunately found a little group of fish that had been left alone. I mean, we all know the old conflict over Mr. Haynes and myself, and that was a different story, a longer story. But, I found this little group of fish that kind of, I checked them Friday and they weren't quite ready. My co-angler caught like a 3.5 pounder off of them. And then, after that whole ordeal Saturday morning, I made a little run back up to them. And I don't think it used to be a community hole, but I believe it is now. But, it was just a little backside deal. It's one of the things you're talking about that I go look at that a lot of guys don't. And, I rolled up on them Saturday and I caught 2 5s and a 9-2.
Yeah.
And we shut it down for the day that day. And then Sunday I started there and caught them on the first 3 casts. And, after I caught a couple good ones, I realized, man, you got a chance at this. So I stayed out till, I don't know, 10:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, and I finally caught a 6.5 or 6+, and I knew that I was over 100. And we came back in, and I'll never forget going back. One of my buddies sent me the video of Rob Newell
Yep.
when they were doing live, and Travis was, my buddy Trav was talking about, Lambert, he's out, and but it was when I was talking, and you could hear them. It was one of those hot mic moments,
Yeah.
And Trav said, he's out in front of Kentucky Dam Village, and Rob was like, he's coming in, he's pulling a Timmy Horton. I'll never forget that. And so I came on in, and actually I didn't order the pizza. Jody Blanco, we call Jody White, we call him Blanco. He's like, dude, you got to order a pizza, man. You got to order pizza. Timmy did it. You got to do it. So they went and ordered pizza, and we sat around and signed a bunch of autographs and took some pictures with some kids for a couple hours. And I mean, we knew we had the tournament won, but it was a day I'll never forget, buddy. And I'm glad you were a part of it.
Hey, that is so ridiculous, man. That's a great story, man. You know what? And there's only a few guys that are part of that Century Club, man. That's a special thing to catch 100 pounds. And like you said, man, you almost did the tournament before that when we were there. 98 something is what you had, over 100 pounds for the 2018 deal, man. And that kind of gave you momentum all the way to the Forrest Wood Cup, where you had a fifth-place finish. The only guy I think that actually, at least in the first round one, first 2 days, that actually weighed in double-digit stringers on Ouachita, both day one and day two, man. You were on them, in contention to win. Didn't turn out as a victory, but you did finish fifth, man. That was a great springboard into Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour. You were already fishing with Major League Fishing at that point, but, man, that momentum game is real. All right, hey, listen, before I let you go, man, just a couple quick questions. We got just a few minutes here.
Yeah.
Fishing hero, Jay Lamb. Who's your fishing hero?
It comes back to a lot of people going to fuss and cuss at me about this, but it's Bill Dance. I mean, Bill kind of paved the way for a lot of the stuff we're doing now. I mean, everybody gives him a hard time. He fishes in a pond, blah, blah, blah. People don't realize that the Angler of the Year in BASS back in the day was created because of Bill Dance. That dude was that good of a tournament fisherman. Yep. He's just smarter than we are. We're still out here chasing this tournament trail around, and he's making millions messing with a television show. But it's got to be Bill. But the thing that people don't know about Bill is he's a better person than he is a fisherman. He's a great friend of mine.
Absolutely.
He is a fantastic guy, but he's done it the right way the whole time, man.
No doubt about it. All right, hey, most memorable fish catch. It's got to be that 9-pounder on live, man. It's got to be, man.
The funniest thing about that is I'm going to tell you it's not. That fish was great. It was fantastic. It was and the crazy thing I'm going to tell you is it happened on the Potomac River, and it was in 2017. I went up and fished the northern costas to try to qualify for the Kentucky Lake Everstart or whatever it was back then. It's the Toyota Series now, the championship. Maybe it was Costa. I don't remember what it was called then. We've changed a few times. But so, I only had 4 fish on the second day. And you always hear these stories about guys, man, I made one more cast and I caught one and I ran in. That's never happened to me in my career until that day. I came in, Smallwood Park, Potomac River, stopped out by the no wake sign, right by the check-in boat. There's a big grass point comes out. I don't even put the trolling motor down. I jump up on the front deck. I fire a swim jig in there. I turn the reel handle about 4 times. I catch a 4-pounder. We boat flip it. I throw it in the live well. Trolling motor hasn't even been put down. Sat down in the seat. Rod's still laying there. I idle over to the check-in boat and give him my check-in number, and he said, I saw that. I said, yeah, that's kind of cool, wasn't it?
That's awesome, dude. Dude, that is great stuff, man.
It just happens that way sometimes. It's only happened for me once, but it was cool when it did.
I guarantee you, man. All right, well, hey, listen, this is your time, man. We're going to close this show out, but before we do that, I want to give you some time to give a shout-out to anybody out there in the FLW universe watching. This is Jay Lamb's time, baby.
Man, Chris, I love you, brother. You know that, and I can't wait to see you again. Daniel, Kathy, everybody involved with FLW. I am looking so forward. it's kind of bad for me to say it like this. I mean, I start fishing tomorrow, heavy hitters, for $740,000 here at Toho. But man, I am so excited about getting up to Chick and fishing with the rest of the year with all you guys and coming back home. Coming back to the roots. But none of this is possible without the people that got me here in the first place. I mean, y'all see this right here. He's talking about electronics. Garmin has been with me for the last 7 years. I love them to death. They take care of me. Blazer Boats, Power Pole. I mean, a lot of the companies that you guys see that all these people, they sponsor FLW. They sponsor Major League Fishing. I mean, Hardcore, Yo-Zuri, all the guys that are good to me, that's the people that we got to go support. Like, you guys out there don't understand how important it is, especially in times like now. If you need to buy something, if you need to buy a hard bait, buy it from Hardcore. If you need to buy electronics, buy it from Garmin. Buy it from the people that support what we do. We're lucky, guys. We are privileged to get to do this for a living. Chris Jones, you're privileged to get to do what you do up on the stage. We don't get to do any of that without the people that support our companies and myself or whomever, Major League Fishing, FLW. Make sure we buy from those companies. That's just my soapbox. I'm sorry, guys. I'm done. Thank y'all. I'll see you at Chickamauga in 2 weeks, cuz.
I love you, cuz.
Hug your neck, man.
I love you, cuz, man. Thanks for joining me on the show, J-Lim. You're the man. Good luck this week, heavy hitters.
Yes, sir. We're going to try to catch them tomorrow. Chris, thank you, man. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right, there he goes, approaching the $1 million mark with FLW, a 7-time FLW champion, and a guy who is like family with FLW. It's a homecoming event in 2 weeks at Chickamauga. The Super Tournament's coming up. Thanks for joining me, Jason Lambert. Hey, listen, for all things fishing, log on to FLWfishing.com. It is the world's most popular competitive fishing website. Join me next week as I have a new pro. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless.